I've recently gotten into iRacing, and I've realized my very, very cheap sim racing rig that I DIY built years ago just doesn't really cut it. And we're gonna be using Timelapse gear down at the bottom here for the cockpit and the related accessories. The wheelbase on this really cool wheel is from Moza. From what I understand, this 21 Newton meter setup is gonna be fairly powerful. And then I've got these Heusinkveld Sprint Pedals, which are also not their top tier, but still supposed to be very high-end pedals. Now, I'm not gonna make a full install video like step-by-step like I do with car builds, so this is a plate for bottom mounting the wheelbase, and I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna front or bottom mount. It'll depend on how the rig feels and if the front mount is actually compatible with the wheel. Moza's front mount system is relatively new, and there's not a lot of good information about what it fits and what it doesn't fit. Long term, I really wanna go for the D-box setup and actually get the motion. Big pieces coming out, and guys, this is gonna be a bit of a project to build. Man, just check out that sweet green. I like it a lot more than the black that people are doing. It's a Tony Kanaan edition, which has some unique modifications, and Micro Center, which is native to me here in Houston, has this kind of stuff available. This is a lot like the P1X rig from SimLab, except you're getting some extra components for just a few bucks more. The organization of the hardware is pretty good. If you're gonna use a power tool, definitely thread things by hand first. One thing I'm noticing is that it might be paint in the threads. Yeah, that's kind of a negative there. I don't know if you could see, but they got paint inside the threads. I'm gonna give these a little zip, but not all the way. Again, I'm gonna leave the final torquing for last. And if you look real close, I'll show you how I mark them. I'll just do something like that. Now we're gonna flip this over. This thing's really starting to come together. I'm loving it. It's a beautiful design, much better than my DIY. Now we're gonna put in the seat mounts, but I'm not gonna cinch these down yet. I need to get my seat off the old rig. Obviously, this kit does not come with a seat. I need to figure out how I wanna adjust the pedals. Back, forward, up, down, angled more. I'm really going for more GT car setup. We've got our Sprint pedals, and these are really cool, much better than my Thrustmaster setup. They are load cell, so they know basically how much weight you're putting on the brake, and they're two-step. There's a springy part, and then there's the heavy resistance that happens. And all of this is adjustable. The kit comes with a bunch of different pieces. You can adjust preload. There's a million settings. Frankly, it's beyond my depth at the moment. I don't really fully know how I would adjust them. I'm gonna run them stock until I get a feel for them, then I'll try a few different things. Now, if you're thinking about getting pedals like this and maybe you don't really want a whole cockpit, do keep in mind that these take some serious force to push. You really need them attached to something. It's not gonna work if they're just on the floor or a piece of wood or something. I wanna open up this wheelbase and take a look at it and see if it will match up with the front mount or the underside mount. Yep, and that's the new version. That's the V2 because it's got that connector. And of course, because it's got the front mount threads, it's gotta be 20 pounds. Woo! If you try to put this on one of those cheesy stands, it's gonna fall over. I really hope the front mount works. Yeah, there's no way this is gonna work. Yeah, that's way too big. I guess what I'll do is I'll use the flat bottom mount. I'm a little disappointed, but I guess I'm glad I bought the bottom mount. These holes match. They're like the only thing that matches, but only one of them at a time will work. And here I made myself a little template. Essentially what I did is I took the bottom of the wheel, I took this pamphlet they included, and then I just poked holes where the 4 holes were, so it all kind of made it up. If you've never installed these sliders before, they come in 2 separate pieces plus that bar that you see, and essentially you just mount them up to either your car, or in this case, this frame. I mounted it the same way using those little inserts and the bolt. And then the side mounts I installed on top of the rails using the kit that came with the rails themselves, just for clearance. And then the bar here, it needs to be bent to the right size, but you might also need to put it in a vise and bend these pieces. They won't mesh with the pins that they need to sit on the side here. You might have to muscle the seat in a little bit. You can throw the seat cover back on. Gonna fit one of these purple cushions in here, but I'm gonna put it in a little case first. Yeah, this has just turned the seat from a torture device to something that's actually comfortable. Whew, what a big difference. I've been working on getting this keyboard tray installed, and I realized it's basically useless. So it either sits like this or it sits like this. Either way, you're not typing on it from the seat. Okay. I might be seeing where that $400, almost $500 is going. Wow, that is, ooh. Okay, this is built really nicely. Man, the buttons are very tactile. You want to line up with an arrow there, and I think it's just a normal quick release, but it's got the pinout that kind of matches that thing, so I believe it should work like any normal quick release. Now ignore that this is all flexing, obviously I haven't tied it down yet. Frankly, I'm a little concerned that with the VR headset on, I'm not gonna know where the heck any of these buttons are. I've got my sim rig assembled, and I've actually played on it for a couple of weeks since I started filming this video, and so far I'm really loving it. I think SimLab is a great setup, and this is a really good kit to get. And as you can see, I've even been able to mount my TV as part of the whole rig. I didn't use the separate stands that it had. I was able to kind of modify things to fit and cut a couple of brackets out of aluminum to make that happen. And the reason that I want this to be on its own is I want to treat it like an appliance. I don't want multiple pieces. I have learned some of my friends want to play this when we've had a few drinks out here, and I think the TV makes that more fun. Normally I'm in VR, but today I'll kind of show it to you out here without the headset. There are some changes that I want to make. For one, I do want to upgrade my VR headset. The big item though is going to be the PC, because right now this is a fairly old system. It's like an i7 with a 1080. I don't think it's even a TI model. One thing I think I do want to improve is the seat. I am using one of those purple pad type of things. It's not like the real purple one, but I'll link it as well in case your seat's uncomfortable. The pad definitely helps, but the seat could be more comfortable, it could be better. I do like that I have it working on rails now and I'm able to slide back and forth. Definitely makes life a lot easier. You may have noticed these Dayton Audio pucks, and what these are the replacement for the bass shaker that I was gonna use. They're being driven by this much smaller amp, and it seems to be working pretty well. And as you can see, I have one in the rear. So what I've got now is actually front and rear shakers rather than just the one rear like I was gonna have. And it's a very easy thing to put together. It costs about the same as the bass shaker, but you get two of these. And personally, I found the performance better. I like these a lot better than the shaker. The shaker is going back. But these Dayton Audio with that one little USB controller, really, really good stuff. And I will have a list of everything down below in the description. I have loaded up iRacing. We'll play something here and I'll show you guys what the experience is like for me. I'll talk a little about the rig as we go. I haven't driven the CTSV much. It might be a handful, but I do know Osher's leaving. I've only been playing iRacing for maybe a month. Let's roll out and see if I can handle this car. It might be kind of crazy. This car's got good power. I'm used to driving these little GR86s. And this thing, ooh, that is tail happy. And this wheel compared to that Thrustmaster that I had in the past is, is brilliant. I get so much more input about what the car's doing like that. It's being very tail happy. Ooh, you're braking early there, bud. I really like the build quality of this thing. Everything is overall very solid and I think well designed. I will say, as a note, you should go through and retighten all the fasteners after the first few hours of use. It's just gonna be the reality of things coming loose. And maybe, long term, if you've completely worked out what you love, maybe throw a little blue Loctite on it, just a tiny bit. I think a lot of people are gonna wreck out pretty early on. This car is squirrely. So I'm just gonna give them room. I think these pedals are excellent, especially the brake. It's really improved my times and just my performance out on the track. Now, obviously I'm still a novice, so I'm learning, but these are clearly much better than what I had with Thrustmaster. And I do love the amount of adjustability on these. My friend Patrick, who plays quite a bit, or I guess maybe he used to play quite a bit, but he was helping me get these set up really nicely, and there's a lot of adjustability. I haven't even scratched the surface. And I may want to figure out a rail system for the pedals for when friends play so the pedals can go back and forth too. I've decided to separate my pedals since I'm not using a clutch, and this way I can have more of a formula style setup for braking with my left foot. If I'm in a car that requires the use of a clutch, I can use this paddle, and it has a full range of motion so you can control the clutch. And then on the other side, I've got this one as a handbrake. And for downshifting and upshifting, I really love just how clicky these are. The buttons overall have a very tactile feel. It's a pleasure to use the wheel. Obviously, inside of VR, you are feeling around a bit, but the nice tactile feel does help you figure it out. You can see I still haven't found a good spot for my keyboard, so it's just laying there on top of the UPS. And I did convert that keyboard tray to hold the UPS and the power supply for the wheel. I think this guy's gonna slip up here coming out of a turn. I don't think I need to be too aggressive. And that's exactly what I thought was gonna happen.
Sixth place. Okay, that's the finish.
So there we go, guys. This was iRacing on the new setup. I really enjoyed it. I think that car was a little wild. For now, I'm gonna let you guys go and maybe practice a little more on here with VR this time.